Ukraine says at least 45 people, including 5 children, have been wounded by Russian attacks in the city of Kharkiv. Several Russian missiles struck a shopping mall, a sports centre and residential buildings as well on Sunday, causing massive damage and possibly burying people in the rubble. Ukraine's president says it's Moscow's latest effort to target civilian infrastructure and terrorise residents. CNN's Fred Pleiken with the details.
Well, the Russians certainly continuing their aerial campaign against Ukrainian towns and cities, and really Kharkiv, which is really close to the Russian border, suffering the brunt of some of those attacks. On Sunday, there was an attack against the areas inside of Kharkiv. The Ukrainians saying that the rubble was still being cleared in some of those places. Some of the children on the ground there were also wounded in that attack. And this comes after several days that the Kharkiv area and the city of Kharkiv have been targeted by the Russians. On Friday, 7 people were killed in a massive attack by aerial glide bombs. And on Saturday, another aerial glide bomb hit a village in the Kharkiv area, killing 2 people there. And the Ukrainians say that the Russians used what's called a Fab 500 bomb that has half a ton of explosives inside it and obviously causes considerable damage. The Ukrainians, however, appear to be fighting back. The Russians are saying that there was a massive drone attack on Sunday by the Ukrainians against Russian territory. The Russians say that they shot down almost 160 drones in 15 regions across Russia. However, there appear to have been hits, namely an oil refinery in the Moscow area and then also an energy facility in Tver. That is very far away from the Russian border, so it appears as though the Ukrainians must have been using long-distance drones for that. Fred Pleiken, CNN, Kyiv.
Russia and Ukraine trading major attacks. Ukraine attacking Russian power plants and refineries with drones, including near Moscow, while Russia has struck Kharkiv. That strike, including firing ballistic missiles at the city. Of course, it's the second largest city in Ukraine. Ukrainian officials say dozens of civilians, including children, were injured. We're joined now by Yaroslav Trofimov, chief foreign affairs correspondent at the Wall Street Journal, also a Pulitzer finalist 2 years in a row for his coverage of the war, and author of a new book, Our Enemies Will Vanish: The Russian Invasion and Ukraine's War of Independence. Thanks so much for being here with us. I want to talk first about this offensive by Ukraine targeting Russia's energy infrastructure. In a way, is this kind of giving Russia a taste of its own medicine and what they were doing kind of toward the beginning of this war?
Well, absolutely. That's exactly what I was going to say. For nearly 2 years, Russia has been trying to destroy Ukrainian power stations, Ukrainian refineries, pretty much the entire energy infrastructure, with its cruise and ballistic missiles and with its drones. Ukraine is not allowed by the US and Western allies to use long-range missiles that they had been supplied to target sovereign Russia. So Ukraine has spent the last 2 years developing its own drone capabilities. And as we are seeing now, these drones can reach pretty much anywhere in the European part of Russia. And they've been striking almost every day at strategic energy and military infrastructure targets there.
And what kind of an impact can that have?
Well, I think there are two levels. On one level, actually it is denting the Russian ability to produce fuel for the military, because both the refineries are being targeted, but also the strategic reserve locations for the military. But also psychologically, it's very it shows to the ordinary Russian citizens when the drone can hit a refinery in Moscow, in the capital of Russia, just to what extent all of Russia's state and military reserves and resources are being used to fight a war in Ukraine, whereas Russia itself is unprotected. We're seeing this with these drone attacks, but we also saw it last month when the Ukrainian military pushed through the Russian border and managed to capture, without much resistance, a significant chunk of the Kursk region of Russia, precisely because the Russian military was not there. It was in Ukraine.
Right, and then they had to move them around. Russia's missile strikes on Kharkiv appear at this moment to have targeted civilians. This is something that continues to happen. You talk about psychological warfare in a way. What does this tell you about Russia's strategy here?
Well, Russia's strategy all along, since the war began, was to try to target civilian infrastructure, civilians in Ukraine, to force them to flee, especially in Kharkiv. For the first several months of the war, the Russian military was on the edge of the city, literally on the ring road, and was shelling the city with everything they've got, mortars, artillery, tanks. Now they're further away, so they have to resort to missiles or light bombs. And so it happens not nearly as frequently as it was in the beginning, but still, all along the Russian strategy in Ukraine was to precipitate an exodus of refugees, to have millions and millions of Ukrainians flee the country, have the economy collapse, which would make it easier in their mind to conquer Ukraine. It hasn't happened that way. I think it sort of backfired and actually strengthened the resolve of ordinary Ukrainians to fight back.
And I also want to ask you, you have your latest piece in the Journal focuses on the arrest of Telegram's founder in France. And you talk about the connectivity there to the Russian military and how this could seriously affect Russia's ability to communicate on the battlefield. Can you tell us more about that?
Yeah, well, the Russian military has really been relying on Telegram for a lot of its communications because, as they found out when the invasion of Ukraine began, they really don't have enough secure communications devices. A lot of the radio traffic was intercepted by the Ukrainians. And Telegram, because it's not a Western company, it's based in the United Arab Emirates, is seen as, by many in the Russian military, as more safe and secure. So a lot of this messaging was going on through that platform, targeting for artillery, drone feeds, reconnaissance information. And now there is a panic in Russia. You can see it on Telegram itself among Russian military analysts, soldiers, who are saying that if Western governments, France, the United States, gains access to all the traffic, all their secrets will be open. And so there have been instructions to stop using Telegram. And there are not very many other alternative systems right now.
It is kind of fascinating how connected it all is. Yaroslav Trofimov, thank you so much for being here with us. We appreciate it.